Hey, this is Max. I'm back with another CSR2 video. Tonight I'm going to talk about the Veyron Supersport Stage 6 effects. Firstly, I want to thank the mysterious stranger for providing me with a fully upgraded Veyron Supersport. And from here, let's first take a look at Stage 5 only. This is a buffed car. It used to be a lot slower. It has since been upgraded and is now quite a bit faster. And tweaking the Evo to the best I can, which looks like it's around here, is about a 9.624. The tire on this car has a lot of grip, so normally speaking, 55-45 will see you through most of the different tunes with different upgrades. Notice that this is a very fast car in the 0 to 100. It also does 250 at 700 pp or 240 at 699 or less. Bottom line is, this is also a good Tempest car if you can get the fusions. This is not a car that easily obtains fusions, so you need to keep that in mind. I would not always recommend cars like this with unique fusions and no ability to duplicate it from a dealership car. So generally speaking, if you have it built for Evo Cup though, you're probably going to be ready for Tempest with it as well. Tempest 3 being the key one. And even if you just did the Golden Cup, chances are your car will still be ready for Tempest 3, 1, and 2. Okay, so if you build it and it got to the Golden Cup, even if it's missing some fusions, chances are it's going to be good. Okay, let's start looking at the Stage 6 effects. I'm going to start off with body this time. Body being one of those Tier 5 Stage 6s that's quite important on quite a few cars. So let's see how it does here. Without any fine tuning, we are dropping from 9.62 to a 9.139. But if you fine tune it, you may be able to squeeze more points out of it. And here, as you can see, it keeps going up to like a 1790 something. Okay, 1792 is what we got to. Let's see what that gives us. So 9.049 from a 9.62 something, that is a substantial drop. And that means body is one of the big Stage 6s that you're going to be looking for throughout the event. Now let's take a look at the next one, which going to the right, it's going to be tire. Let's take body off and put tire on. Now, this car is extremely grippy already. Usually with cars like this, you're not going to see as much of an effect from tire. Not to say tire won't do anything. It just isn't really going to do a whole lot because it's already at a 50-45 grip. 55-45, what are you going to do? You're going to keep lowering the grip because you're putting more tire on. That doesn't really help you that much. And here, you're trying to get more, you got more grip in, so a little more aggressive final gear will always help. But again, even with the final gear change bump, it's not a extremely substantial change. So from a 9.62 to a 9.42 is about a 2/10 drop. Not bad, but nothing to write home about. And it may actually put this near the bottom unless turbo intake turns out to be really bad. So that's almost a dead-on 0.2 drop, like a 0.202. So let's see what the next Stage 6 will do. So that was tire. And now we're going to move to transmission. Watching the PP jump and then watching the Evo change, I'm going to tell you right now the transmission probably will do pretty well. Is it going to be body? I don't know. Not without looking at the dyno and tweaking it, but it's going to be a decent drop from 9.6. 9.156 without tuning. But can this tune for a lot more points or not? Looks like unlike body, you're not going to get a huge amount of change out of the Evo with tweaking it with the final drive. So 16.44 seems to be the 9.15. So I'm kind of stuck at this number. Maybe 55 will give it a little bump. There it is. 9.149. So it is good, but it falls a little bit short on as compared to body. And nitrous tweaks doesn't really do much for it either. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at the next one. Okay, with trans out of the way, let's now look at engine. Engine, generally speaking, isn't going to be a terrible stage 6 for a lot of cars, although it is on some. In this case, based on the PP Evo change, I think it'll do okay. It's not going to be super good. In fact, it's barely better than tire, but that's about a 2/10 drop without fine tuning. And it doesn't look like it's going to easily get a lot more points. So somewhere around 9.410, maybe a little bit less. So again, a 2/10 and maybe 300th drop. A little bit better than tire, but not really substantially so. Engine, tires kind of on par, and then body's number 1, trans is kind of behind it right now. So we're moving down to the next one, and these two are generally pretty weak, and one is turbo. Let's take a look at turbo. Now, interestingly, PP went down. PP went up, but Evo went down. Probably can tune around it, but usually that's not a good sign for this one doing a whole lot if the Evo is actually going down already instead of going up. And here I'm just going to say around 45 is probably the best I'm going to get out of it. So 9.546 is barely 1/10 drop. That's pretty bad. So turbo is bad for this particular car, and it's not really a surprise. And now the question is whether intake's just as bad or worse or better. Because we know from experience that, generally speaking, very few cars would not benefit from nitrous in some way, certainly more than 1/10, generally speaking. Not to say that nitrous is going to be huge, but nitrous shouldn't be worse than intake in most cases, or turbo in most cases. There are always exceptions, but for this car, I don't think that'll be an exception. Okay, let's dyno intake. 9.589, yeesh. Okay, and that's not really saying that I can tune it either. Yeah, it looks like I'm stuck with this. So this is going to be a 9.588. That is from a 9.62. So you're talking about 400ths, a little bit around 400ths of a drop versus body's 6/10 of a drop. That's a big gap. Okay, so this is kind of the problem here with this. We're going to look at nitrous first before we start discussing that issue. But let's look at our final one. That's nitrous. Nitrous, again, will have to involve some tuning because now your duration have changed. But just look at the Evo jump and the PP jump. I know nitrous is not going to end up even like engine. It's probably going to be decent. So first we tweak the nitrous amount. We look at the dyno. You're down to 9.427. That's a 2/10 drop. That's not better than tire, and certainly probably looks almost on par with engine, so that's not all that impressive. Oops. Yep, 9.427. So unless I can eke out some more out of this, this is pretty much on par with tire and engine. So here comes the conundrum. When you have cars with stage 6 effects that are this extreme, meaning 1 or 2 stage 6s will do more than practically the others combined. So let's look at the combined effect here. I'm not going to tune this. I'm just going to show you because you can easily see it just from the raw numbers when you put these parts in. If you put trans and body in, okay, this is trans and body only. We're going to go back and dyno this without tweaking the tune at all. I'm just going to dyno it and show you what it does. 8.6. That is a full 1 second drop with 2 stage 6. 2. Okay? Well, that's great. that drop might be enough to get you through Golden Cup already. Now, is that going to get you through Evo? Probably not, because Evo Cups tend to be a lot closer to what the car is maxed, and that would put it at 7.8. Even if natural motion gives you 4/10, that's still an 8.2. Evo Cup is probably not going to be any slower than 8.2 to 8.3. If it is slower than 8.3, you're lucky because that's an easy Evo Cup. If it's somewhere around 8.2, 8.3, that I would say would be normal. Now, Golden Cup, though, tend to be 1 second plus slower than what the car ultimately can run. So that could put you easily from 7.8 to 8.8. That also could mean 8.9 to 9.0 for Golden Cup even. So the Golden Cup, you can look at it and probably get an easier time than the Evo Cup. Evo Cup, you're going to need more upgrades. So what happens if we put the rest of these in? I mean, that was only 2. Surely with 5, we're definitely going to beat that time. Now, mind you, engine's okay. Tires okay. These 2 are kind of nothing. And nitrous is not too terrible. So still should get you into the 8s at the minimum because you're already starting at 9.6. There should still be around 8.6 as well. Hopefully, right? No, it's not. It's a 9.0. That's pretty bad. That means despite the fact that 3 of the stage 6s individually add about 2/10, and then you have intake, which barely adds anything, and you have the other weaker one, which is turbo, which does add 1/10, combined, somehow, it doesn't add the same number as if it was added if you're just calculating individually, because we're talking about 9.6, 3 stage 6s that take out about 0.2, and then 2 additional stage 6 that should these take out 1.5. I was expecting an 8.5, I mean, not an 8.5, but like an 8.8 dyno tune time out of this. 8.9 something is a little weak, but that means that if the Golden Cup is 9.0, you could still make it, but you're going to need all 5 stage 6s versus just 2 to get the job done. So Evo Cup is going to be tough for a lot of people, and it's going to be a make it or break it situation with people that don't have body or trans. In fact, I would think you would need both body and trans to really make it. If you just have body and you don't have trans, or you just have trans, you don't have body, it's the other ones probably won't make up for it. So it's almost critical for you to have body and trans, I think, to make the Evo Cup. That's unfortunate because if luck is not with you and you don't have it, you're kind of screwed. And that happens more often than people would like because you get duplicate stage 6s, and sometimes even from the keep hole crates, you get duplicate stage 6s. And that really takes the fun out of building these cars sometimes, especially with a tough cup like the Evo Cup. And especially because without the luck to get the right stage 6, you're going to miss out on that purple star car altogether. Okay, so that kind of wraps up the stage 6 discussion for this car. With full everything, okay, full in and tuned, I'm going to tune it to where the best points would be. You're looking at a 7.808 306 mile per hour. So what's my verdict on this Veyron Supersport? I will separately do a tuning video on this. I will also probably mention in the tuning video in more detail about the Tempest tunes that you may be facing. With this car, the key is that it is a good car. It's a 7.8 car, so it's not the fastest around, but it can be tuned to be dyno, which is important, and it runs good overall, but it doesn't run dyno easily unless you know exactly how to launch it and shift it. For the purpose of the Golden Cup and the Evo Cup, I think it shouldn't be too bad as long as you have fusions and parts. If you don't, Evo Cup is going to be next to impossible. So what I really spend all my gold keys polling for this, that is really up to you. Is it a good enough car that it can be used in a variety of situations? Yes, it's good enough for live racing. It's good enough for map racing. And it is also good enough for Tempest. So it is a good enough car all around. But it's really your call if you want to put the resources in to try to get the fusions. I know for a fact that there are players who played over a year to 2. They're still missing epic fusions for this car. So know what you're getting into unless you plan to spend some resources like a ton of bronze keys to pull crates that are specific to Bugatti for those missing fusions. But again, it can take you easily 50,000 bronze keys to get all 7 stage 6s if you're going down that route. Finally, as far as this car is concerned with the various speed traps and also the sprints, you're not going to have a problem with sprints for this car. You're going to get right through them because it is a very quick sprint car. Look at the dyno time, it'll tell the tale. 0.7390 to 100 fully maxed. It's crazy fast. But mile per hour, it's a little bit slower. In fact, generally the best tune for it also happens to be where the mile per hour tops out. So you can always, if you had to try to hit a little more, you can always do a little bit of this and use nitrous a little bit later to hopefully hit a higher time. But I do know with this car, you tend to hit a wall. If you don't know for sure, my recommendation is lower tire grip stages and keep all the power stages in for the purpose of meeting PP restrictions and speed traps. Most likely you won't need it, but that's an alternative way to do it. So that concludes the discussion on this car for this video. Let me know what you think. Did you get lucky and get this car already, or are you looking forward to pulling it? And please subscribe to the channel if you like these videos so that when I put them up, you get notifications. And finally, as always, I want to thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time with another CSR2 video. Have a good night.